Hello viewers, welcome to Aspire Academy. This is Ashim Nath and today we are back with another lecture series of HS second year. আজি আমি অৰ্থনীতি বিজ্ঞানৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমিক্স ভাৰতৰ অৰ্থনীতিৰ প্ৰথমটো খণ্ড ফাৰ্ষ্ট ইউনিট that is Indian economy at the time of independence বিষয়ে আমি আজি কথা পাতিবলৈ ট্ৰাই কৰিম. So HS second year economics or syllabus amar duta bhagot bhogwa ase. One is macroeconomics and the other is Indian economic development or Indian economics. So macroeconomics are both key topics I discussed already. And today we are going to start fresh with Indian economics of HS second year. So Indian economics or syllabus to jodi bhalke soa tomaloke paba unit 1 buli paba ba part A ba part 1 buli paba which will talk about developmental experiences. Developmental experiences till 1991 buli paba. Okay, এটা developmental experiences till 1991 to বুজিবৰ কাৰণে আমি গোটেই ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমি খন তিনিটা ভাগত বা তিনিটা ফ্ৰেম জোনত টাইম হৰিজনত আমি ভগাই লওঁ for simplicity and simple understanding. First is British ruler পৰা Indian economy খন British ruler পৰা independence লকে 1947 লকে Indian economy খন কেনেকুৱা আছিলে. That is the first phase. Second phase to হল আমাৰ 1950 independence পিছৰ পৰা 1990s লকে কি changes আহিলে কি developmental strategies Indian economy বা Indian government ললে to overcome the negative effects of the British rule. And third আমাৰ 1991 onwards. Because 1990s or সেই সময়টোতো Indian economy বহুতখিনি আমাৰ issues আছিলে, problem আছিলে, যোনখিনিয়ে Indian economic বা Indian government force কৰিলে to come up with new set of policies, to come up with new set of agendas. So সেই agendas বোৰ কি আছিলে, সেই actually সেই forces বোৰ কি আছিলে, why India had to switch to another set of reforms, আৰু সেই reform বোৰ লোৱাৰ কাৰণে effect বোৰ কি আছিলে আমি সেইখিনি in 1991 onwards জানি চাম. So এইখিনি কথা আমি পিছলে পাতিম. এইখিনি কথা পাতিব হলে বা এইখিনি বুজিব হলে আমি সেই ব্ৰিটিছ ৰুলৰ সময়ত ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমি খনত কেনেকুৱা আছিলে পৰিৱেশটো বা ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমি খনে কেনেকৈ প্ৰবলেম ফেস কৰিছিলে আমি সেইখিনি ফাৰ্স্ট বুজিব লাগিব. So we are going to start up today's discussion or today's lecture series with the with understanding the nature of Indian economy, with understanding the problems faced by Indian economy during the eve of independence during the British rule. Now we know that India got independence in 1947 and the entire path of Indian independence was not a path of roses, right? So India কিন্তু বহুত কষ্ট কৰি কিনে বহুত struggle কৰি কিনে India got independence. আৰু ইণ্ডিয়াৰ সেই ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেন্স মুভমেন্ট বা ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেন্স পোৱাৰ প্ৰচেছটো ইমান সহজ নাছিলে কিন্তু. Before 1957, India was ruled by the British economy, British government, and we were essentially an colony. So we were under the colonial era, colonialism era ami asilu, and we were ruled by a particular group of elites, a particular group of supreme super class people jak ami British economy বা British government বুলি কৈছিলো. Now British economy India ahi kine India use কৰিছিলে for their own profit motive, and Indian economy was used for two base motives. So দুটা motive আছিলে Britishers Indian economy খন use কৰাৰ. First, to use India as a feeder country, বা feeder economy, and to take raw materials from India at free of cost or at very cheap rates. So first motive asile Britishers India অহাৰ The Indian economy was, very blessed. India has always been blessed with natural resources. Or India, a raw materials bur bahut besi porimane utpadon kora hoy. Or a raw materials kine kintu industries bure use kore as inputs to convert them into outputs, to convert them into finished product. So Britishers say India use korisile as a feeder country. Feeder country বা feeder economy মানে জোৰ পৰা আমি ফ্ৰীতে এই raw materials বা কিবা এটা বস্তু প্ৰডিউস কৰিবৰ কাৰণে যেতিয়া আমাক দৰকাৰ হয়, যেতিয়া আমাক সামগ্ৰী দৰকাৰ হয় উৎপাদন কৰিবৰ কাৰণে সেইখিনি আমি জোৰ পৰা পাও, তাক আমি feeder country বুলি কওঁ. So British economy কি কৰিছিলে, ইণ্ডিয়াক as a feeder country use কৰিছিলে so that they can get the raw materials from India either at free of cost or at most at very very cheap prices. All right, our second reason to asile to convert the raw materials into finished products and sell them at higher price in India. So সেই raw materials বোৰ Britishers finished products হলে convert কৰিছিলে, কৰি কিনে ইণ্ডিয়াকে কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে আকৌ at a higher price, double price তেওঁলোকে sell কৰিছিলে. So firstly, you are taking a raw materials from India, from our country at very cheap price, at very low price, or at most free of cost. And then what you're doing is you are selling those finished products in India at a higher price. So British economy, Indian economic double exploitation কৰিছিলে. There was an element of double exploitation. So how double exploitation? First, raw materials লৈ আছে ফ্ৰীত বা একদম কম দামত, আৰু সেকেন্ড কি কৰিছে, সেই finished products বোৰে ইণ্ডিয়াত বেছি আছে at a very very high price. So what you're doing is you are exploiting but double. So there is double exploitation in the Indian economy. So this were the twofold motives for the British economy to make India as a colony. So this is the basic background of why Britishers came into India and started exploiting, or how they exploited the Indian economy. It is, we know that Britishers say Indian economy bhal kam iman ekো কৰা নাই, but we have all negative consequences. Britishers ji korisile বা ji policy loisile, it was all done for their own self interest. It was all done for their own selfish motives, and this had many negative consequences. So এটা আমি Indian economy খন চাব লাগিব during the British rule. So characters বা state of Indian economy at the time of independence. So how are you going to characterize, or how you're going to identify Indian economy at the time of independence? So first character, the first state asile that India was a colonial economy. So obviously we were being ruled by a colony, we were ruled by the British economy, British society, and we were converted into a colony. And the main motive behind Britishers ruling our country, duta motive ami matra porhiluwe, India was being used as a feeder country. Raw materials have been taken away or taken out from India at either free of cost or at either very very cheap prices. And secondly ki kora hoisile, that all these raw materials were converted into finished products, and they were again sold to India at a very very high price. So double exploitation kora hoisile by making India, or by converting India into an colonial economy. Second, India was identified as a stagnant economy. Stagnant economy. So stagnant mane economy where there is no growth, or an economy which grows at very slow rate. So British ruler সময়ত Indian economy was not at all growing properly, and there was very very slow growth. Our Indian economy was growing at less than 2%. So growth rate to আমাৰ কিমান আছিলে 2% কে বহুত কম আছিলে. So this was the stagnant economy. Number 3, backward economy. So Britishers থকা সময়ত Indian economy খনক backward বা পিছপৰা অৰ্থনীতি বুলি কোৱা হৈছিলে. এটা পিছপৰা অৰ্থনীতি হবৰ কাৰণে কিছুমান ফেক্টৰ ৰেসপন্সিবল হয়, আৰু সেই ফেক্টৰছবোৰ কিন্তু ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমিটো আমি দেখা পাইছিলো during the British rule. আৰু সেই ৰুলবোৰ সেই ফেক্টৰছবোৰ কি আছিলে low levels of productivity, উৎপাদন একেবাৰে কম আছিলে, high illiteracy, traditional methods of cultivation, high birth and high death rate, and low per capita income. So these were the main factors responsible for backward economy. So ভাৰতৰ অৰ্থনীতি পিছপৰা হবৰ কাৰণে এই ফেক্টৰছবোৰ ৰেসপন্সিবল আছিল যে আমাৰ প্ৰডাক্টিভিটি একেবাৰে লো আছিলে, আমাৰ এগ্ৰিকালচাৰ হোক ইন্ডাষ্ট্ৰি হোক তাৰ প্ৰডাকশন একেবাৰে কম আছিলে, আৰু লো লেভেলছ অফ প্ৰডাক্টিভিটি হোৱাৰ মেইন ৰিজনটো আছিলে যে আমি ট্ৰেডিশনেল মেথডছ অফ কাল্টিভেশ্যন ইউজ কৰি আছিলো. Still we were in the traditional era, traditional methods use kori asilu ami, and no modern methods were used to cultivate. No modern methods of cultivation, no modern methods of agriculture was basically used by the Indian economy. Next, there was high illiteracy. British government into social বা society বা social infrastructure develop koriবৰ কাৰণে একো বিশেষ কাম কৰা নাছিলে. So Britishers কেতিয়াও emphasize কৰা নাছিলে যে education important হয় বুলি কিনে. Okay, so we had high illiteracy in the society, high birth and high death rate. So social infrastructure বুলি ক'লে আমি সদায় health আৰু education এ বুজাও. So since Britishers social infrastructure develop কৰিবৰ কাৰণে বিশেষ কাম কৰা নাছিলে, so we did not have much medical facilities. So আমাৰ birth rate বহুত high আছিলে. So when there is illiteracy, you will never understand the importance of having a small family, right? You will never understand, or you will never know how to reduce the family size, how to go for family planning. এইবোৰ কিয় important হয় সেই কনসেপ্টবোৰ আমি তেতিয়াই বুজি পাম যেতিয়া আমাৰ শিক্ষা থাকিব. But we had illiteracy, আমাৰ literacy নাছিলে. So when you don't have education, you will never understand the negative consequences of having high birth rate. And since our medical facilities bhalke nasile, so we did not have proper medical care, so we had high death rate as well. So high birth rate, high death rate asile, and low per capita income. So jetia amar productivity bahut kom hoi ase, ami production koriboi para nai, ami sale u amar kom hobo. So jodi amar sales kom hoy, amar income kom hobo. So income kom hole per capita, per person income ki hobo komi jabo. So this were the 5 important reasons why Indian economy was characterized as a backward economy. Okay. Number 4, semi-feudal economy. So Britishers were the one who introduced the concept of a semi-feudal economy. So semi-feudal mane lords and the laborer. So he class system বা caste system je ejon kunoba head of the society hobo, বা তেওঁৱে হাইয়েষ্ট অথৰিটি হ'ব আৰু তেওঁৰ আণ্ডাৰত বাকী মানুহবোৰে কাম কৰিব, সেই ক্লাছ ডিভিজন সোসাইটি ডিভিজনটো বেসিক্যালি আমি সেমি ফিউডাল ইকোনমি বুলি কওঁ, and this was introduced by the Britishers. And under this semi feudal economy we had the concept of zamindari system. We had the concept of zamindari system. Or a zamindari system under there will be one particular person who will be the zamindar, or who will be the owner of the entire land, entire zameen, entire land of the particular area. আৰু তেওঁৰ আণ্ডাৰত বাকী লেণ্ডলেছ লেবাৰ্ছ বোৰে কাম কৰিব। চ' সেই যে ক্লাছ চিষ্টেম, কাষ্ট চিষ্টেমৰ গোটেই কনচেপ্টটো, there will be someone who is a owner or who is a lord, and under that particular lord the other people will be working. Hey, semi-feudal economic concept kune disile amak. It was introduced to us by the British society, by the British colonial government. And lastly, Indian economy or Indian society was also characterized by a depleted economy. So depleted economy but stagnant economy concept almost same hoy. So there was no growth, backward hoy, no scientific development. Okay, so এই গোটেই এই চাৰিটা ৰিজন মিলি কিনে কিন্তু আমি এই শেষৰ ৰিজন বা শেষৰ ক্যাৰেক্টাৰটো পাও যে ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমি ওয়াজ আ ডিপ্লিটেড ইকনমি। So firstly আমি কি পাইছো যে colonial economy আছিলে, obviously because colonial rule চলি আছিলে, Britishers were Britishers has converted Indian economy into a colony, আৰু সেই colony convert কৰাৰ পিছফালে দুটা ৰিজন আছিলে আমাৰ। The first reason to asile je Indian economy was being used as a feeder economy. So firstly Indian economy amar colonial society boli ami identify korisu, because obviously Britishers were using us as a colony for two basic reasons. So ki asile, firstly that India was using us to take all the raw materials, feeder economy boli amak treat kora hoisile, আৰু এই raw materials bor যেতিয়া finished products le convert kora hol, those were sold up in India at a higher price. So we were having double exploitation. Next, we had a stagnant economy. So stagnant economy mane ekhon economy jot growth nai, but there is no growth, or the Indian economy was growing at a less than 2% rate. Backward economy asilu ami pispora orthoninty asilu, because we were having high illiteracy, high birth rates, high death rates, low productivity. We were still using the traditional methods, there were low per capita income. We had the introduction of the semi-feudal economy, where we had the zamindar, and under the zamindar there will be many people working as landless laborer. And lastly we had the stagnant economy, where there was no growth, there was no development, there was no scientific attitude. All these were the characters of the Indian economy at the time of independence. All right, so this is how you're going to identify the Indian economy at the time of independence. So since we already had a brief idea that Indian economy kon kenekwa asile dekhibole the time of independence, as a whole ami bujibole try korilu. Now etia ami ki korim, ami sector wise ami sabole try korim. Ami first agricultural sector sam, je agricultural sector ki problem asile, then ami industry fale jam, then we'll move to trade sector, and then ami okoman demography ba population or condition bor kenekwa asile ami kebor bujibole try korim. So now we'll talk about, or we'll discuss the agricultural sector, and what exactly was the state or condition of the agricultural sector during the British rule. All right, so the agricultural sector. So the performance of the agricultural sector during the British rule was not very fruitful. So jimankhini expectations asile economists hokolor je agricultural sector pora ami imankhini outputs pabo lage ba imankhini ama productivity hobo lage, it was not targeted, jiman ami target korisil, it was not fruitful. So there were certain reasons why the agricultural sector could not meet its target, aru he factors bor ami discuss koribole jam. So the very first factor of the drawback or of the agricultural sector not being able to achieve its targets was that we had something known as the land settlement system. Land settlement system. এতিয়া feature বা state of Indian economy পঢ়োতে এটা point আমি highlight কৰিছিলো that the Britishers came up with the concept of the semi-feudal economy. And this semi-feudal economy was very, very prominent factor in coming up with this land settlement system. So Britishers basically came up with the land settlement system, which introduced the colonial semi-feudal system. And we had something known as the zamindari system. So already I can discuss কৰিছিলোৱে যে zamindari system under কি আছিলে that there will be one particular person who will be the dar or who will be the owner of the entire land and the entire zameen of a particular area, and there will be many other landless farmers, landless laborer who will be working under the zamindar. আৰু তেওঁলোকে যিমান productivity যিমান output produce কৰিব, a part of that particular output was to be given to the zamindar in the name of tax. আৰু এই টেক্সটোক আমি লাগান বুলি কওঁ. So এখন মুভিও ৰিলিজ হৈছিল আমিৰ খানৰ যোনটোত তেওঁলোকে এই লাগানৰ গোটেই বা জামিনদাৰৰ গোটেই চিষ্টেম তেওঁলোকে পোৰ্ট্ৰে কৰিব ট্ৰাই কৰিছিলে. So this particular lagan or tax was been collected by the zamindar. এতিয়া এই zamindari systemৰ আন্ডাৰত the main motive of the zamindars were not to develop the agricultural sector, was not to identify the problems that were being faced by these laborers, but their main intention was to get the tax or the lagan, because তেওঁলোকে যিমান tax পাব তেওঁলোকৰ হিমানে profits বাঢ়িব আৰু যিমান কম tax পাব the profits are going to shrink. So in order to maximize their profits, the main aim, main agenda of the zamindars were to collect as much as lagan or as much as tax as possible. And this is one of the main reasons why the agricultural sector could not develop. Because agricultural sector develop hobor karone, ami bhabibo lagibo, ami sabo lagibo je exactly problem to kod hoi ase. Aru he problem bur solution to ami keneke anibo paru. But zamindars were not interested in identifying the problem, in doing anything productive for the agricultural sector. Their main motto was to come up to collect more taxes, more lagans from the farmers. So this is the first very reason why the agricultural sector was a stagnant sector during the British rule. The second very reason for agricultural sector not being able to meet its targets was the policy of commercialization of agriculture. Commercialization of agriculture. It's a commercialization of agriculture মানে কি হয় যেতিয়া আমি food crops produce নকৰি কিনে আমি basically cash crops produce কৰি আছো. So a movement from food crops to cash crops is termed as commercialization of agriculture. এটা food crop or example কি হ'ব পাৰে এইবোৰ কিন্তু 2 marks ৰ কাৰণে examত আহে. Give two examples of food crops. Give two examples of cash crop. So food crop মানে paddy hobo pare, wheat hobo pare, paddy, rice, wheat, whatever. And for cash crops, it is cotton, indigo, sugarcane. So all these are examples of cash crops. So Britishers, came up with the introduction of a new type of agricultural system, like commercialization agriculture বুলি কৈ আছো. And they encouraged, they forced the Indian farmers to not produce food crops, but to produce more and more of cash crop. It's a policy to honor India. During that period, this kind of cash crops were, in high demand in the US market. Also, cotton, indigo, sugarcane, these are inputs. These are essentially very important raw materials. Junbur, beleg bibhinno dhoroner finished products you produce koribor karone use kora hoisile, and these commodities were in high demand during that particular period in the US market. So the Britishers basically wanted to take much of the raw materials from India, and as a result, they forced the Indian farmers to not produce much of food crop, but to produce the cash crops. So this was another reason why the Indian agricultural system were facing problems during the British rule. Third reason was low levels of productivity. We did not have much productivity at the time of the British rule. Low levels of productivity. It's a low levels of productivity where peaceful. There are very, very strong evident reasons. As first thing, our zamindari system asile. Our zamindars were not got interested to do anything to develop the Indian economy or the Indian agricultural sector. They were only motivated to collect taxes. Secondly, we were a very monsoon driven economy. Ami okol borokuno loke ami rokhi thaku, borokun hobo ami kheti korim, borokun nai ami kheti koribo noaru. Because ami irrigation ki hoy, irrigation keneke use korem, heibor bostu tetia ami jona nasilum. Thirdly, we were more a manual economy jot ami okol labor intensive methods use korisil, and we did not have any scientific advancement. So all these were the reasons why Indian economy but Indian agricultural sector could not produce much of its resources or much of its output during the British rule. And finally, the very important reason was the adverse effects of partition. Adverse effects of partition. Or a particular reason to politically inclined hoy. It's a partition jetia amar hoisile after independence by the Muslim League. A particular policy was suggested where we will be going for dividing the entire undivided India on the basis of religion. And as a result, we had something known as the East Pakistan and the West Pakistan. East Pakistan being the present day Bangladesh and the West Pakistan being the present day Pakistan. Etia partition war agote much of the areas of West Bengal and the present day Bangladesh were extremely fertile for jute cultivation. And before we had the partition, much of the areas of the present day Pakistan and Punjab, Amritsar were very, very fertile lands. But partition war pisot ki hol, he gute fertile lands kini present day Pakistan or present day Bangladesh osore gusi kon. So when much of the fertile lands are already going out from the Indian territory, you can never expect to increase the production of that particular good or that particular crop. So this partition also had a negative impact or negative consequence towards reducing the productivity of Indian agriculture. So these were the four important reasons highlighted by various economists, which had to do or had to play a major role in reducing the productivity of Indian agriculture. So এইখিনি reason asile amar je why Indian agriculture বা Indian productivity agricultural productivity up to the mark ami পোৱা নাছিলো during the British rule. So আমি আজিৰ ক্লাছত basically অকমান বুজিবলৈ try কৰিলো যে Indian economy খন ভাৰতৰ অৰ্থনীতি খন ব্ৰিটিছৰ সময়ত কেনেকুৱা আছিলে, কি negative impacts আমি পাইছিলো, নেগেটিভ প্ৰভাৱ কি পাইছিলো আমি ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমিত, আৰু ব্ৰিটিছৰ ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমিখন কলনী হিচাপে চলোৱাৰ পিছফালে দুটা মেইন ৰিজন আমি পাইছো আজি, আৰু এগ্ৰিকালচাৰ সেক্টৰ ষ্টেগনেন্ট হোৱাৰ বেসিক ৰিজনবোৰ আমি আজি আইডেন্টিফাই কৰিবলৈ ট্ৰাই কৰিছো. So we are going to wrap today's class over here. In the next class, we'll move to the other sectors. আমি industrial sector, trade sector, আৰু demographic sector because আমি অকমান বুজিবলৈ try কৰিম যে during the British rule, how were the position or how these sectors basically looked like and what were the issues that this particular individual sectors were facing. So we are going to wrap up today's class over here. I hope তোমালোকে আজিৰ ক্লাসটো কৰি ভাল পাইছা. যদি ভাল পাইছা, please try sharing the videos with the other people so that the needy students can be benefited with the efforts of Aspire. Till then, thank you. Hope to see you all in the next class.